Hello everyone, it's Danny with Skin Harmonics, the very first skincare system and method and skincare line that creates self-purifying and self-mending skin. And today I'm going to talk about skin interoception. And this is the perception of sensations from our skin that can spring easily from daily skincare practices, and they combine with our body's overall interoceptive experience, and this also encompasses our emotions. This word, interoception, is trending right now in the somatic healing field, and it has to do with internal body sensations and the perception of that and how this just mixes with all of our thoughts, all of our feelings. And our skin is a really, really important organ. It's not an internal organ that would be described as being interoceptive, but in a way that it is, because our skin is an unusual organ because it's both. It's both internal and external. It's this interfacing membrane that we have that gives us so much information about the world. And I wanted to make a list of all of the ways that we have to relearn and remap our skin sensations. And these three things first came to mind when I started thinking about this idea of tranquility. And this was something that I touched on in the last newsletter around balance and achieving skin balance. And tranquility is that would be skin massage, acupuncture, microcurrent, gua sha, jade rolling, face yoga. Those are all things that I've put in the beneficial column. And the interesting thing about tranquility is that we're often confusing it with boredom. Like when we first start to experience tranquility, it seems boring because in contrast to the excitement of conventional skincare practices, tranquility seems like, meh. And this is something that we really need to remap and value as being, just crucial and often overlooked to overall skin health. So it's this idea of, is it tranquility or is it true boredom? And when it comes to relearning what boredom is in our skin, we have to answer to, is this time to give our skin a reset, a deep pore cleanse, or increase the dermal nutrient dosage? Or do we need to kind of recalibrate what we think is boredom and put it in the beneficial category of tranquility? And this also has me thinking about the excitement. Like when you go to compare the Skin Harmonics world with products and the conventional skincare practices, there's this element of excitement with conventional skincare, and I'm calling it, they're called Band-Aid traumas, because it's not like a healthy excitement. It's chemical peels, lasers, microdermabrasion, microneedling, clay masks, essential oils, injections. These are actually not beneficial for our skin, but they're exciting, and they fulfill that category of kind of one and done. Like we have to do something for our skin. We have to take drastic measures and accomplish and do something, and it has to be exciting. And these are all of these things that I've listed are actually we're traumatizing our skin, and we're putting Band-Aids on symptoms. And so these are just, kind of ask each of you to revisit what boredom is, what tranquility is, and what healthy excitement would be. And the key for having the healthy excitement for our skin and to move away from doing this for this need to have to do or fix something in our skin is to move away from these Band-Aid traumas that I mentioned, and we move instead towards what I call a healthy detox. And this is moving into the 6 phases of returning our skin to its self-purifying and self-mending state. And the waves and the phases of this healing path is exciting. It's something that is deeply meaningful to the skin, and it's actually the only thing that addresses the deepest root causes of acne and premature aging. And I also wanted to make a list, or kind of just list out all, when it comes to these skin interoceptions, all the sensations that come to us in going through the daily care at Skin Harmonics. And the first is just simple cleansing, simple warm water cleansing. Like, it's so simple, right? That of course it seems boring or like ineffective in the beginning, and it rubs up against, you know, this worry that we all have of dirt and oil and bacteria as being damaging to our skin, and this need to get that squeaky clean effect. And the reality is that warm water and occasional gentle cleansing with a gentle face specified product removes all of the dirt, the oil, any bacteria. It removes everything. And then there is this sensation of literally making friends with the acid mantle on our skin, which will always feel a little bit oily. If that little tiny subtle acid mantle isn't in place, you're in trouble. And that means that you went too far and you're going for that squeaky clean sensation. So that's one of the first ways that we're sensory, like just attaching these sensations to what's beneficial for our skin and unlearning all of these old habits and beliefs that are just not beneficial for our skin. And then when it comes to exfoliating, I have the Revive Pack, which is ooey, it's gooey, it's smooth, it's thick. It has these active little enzymes in it that aren't, you know, they're not burning our skin. There's not a sensation of tightness. There's not any drying. There's no granular, there's no microdermabrasion beads in it, like most exfoliators. So exfoliation, this sensation of being exfoliated for our skin that we've learned and been trained by conventional skincare and advertising campaigns and misunderstanding and misinformation and all of that, like we're taught to crave exfoliation as the only way to freshen our skin. And that means that we have to exfoliate with chemical peels and acids and scrubs and microdermabrasion, and the correct transfer of that want to freshen our skin and to remove there's this reoccurring fear I hear from people, like I have to get the old skin cells off. Like I have old skin on my skin. Like there's just that feeling because we've been trained to think like that. And, you know, a really gentle enzyme pack like Revive removes what needs to go perfectly. There's no need to go further with putting acid on our skin. And so there's a relearning of how we're exfoliating. And of course, we're only doing it once or twice a month. I mean, possibly more often if we're actively working towards resurfacing acne. But generally once a month, a really thick application of Revive is all the exfoliation we need. And then when it comes to hydrating our skin and doing that basic sequence, the mist, that hydrating mist is very simple. It's rose water and medical grade hyperoxygenated water, but it's just gentle, it's simple. It doesn't sting. It's not a toner. We're not going to, again, get that burning sensation that we're fixing our pore size or we're doing something for our skin. It should feel very simple and neutral and just pure on our skin. And so that's a sensation that we have to relearn and associate with true hydration. And then again, another sensation that we have to relearn and experience is this receiving of dermal nutrients. So instead of flipping to the default of just more scrubbing and trauma to elicit this new skin cell response. It's the receiving of these dermal nutrients that elicit a massive increase of new skin cell production. And it's the first time people feel this is often in a deep pore cleansing session, where I give what's called a Christmas dinner dose, where it's a huge dose and it tingles very much so. It passes fairly quickly. And sometimes this can be experienced by using Fortify or Feast, or certainly Super Feast, but it's a completely different sensation than exfoliation, and it's a completely different sensation than receiving a chemical peel. And it's hard to describe, but it's just tingly. It's deeply tingly, but not excessively tingly. And so this is a sensation that we need to learn as beneficial for our skin. And it's completely trustable. And it's not as exciting as a chemical peel. And this is where we kind of, like I have mentioned, like we have to transfer and trade in this craving for excitement for these subtler things that mean so much more for our skin. And another sensation is the vitamin C powder Bright. It does tingle in a more conventional way. I think it's the most stimulating out of all of the products. But what's so interesting about the use of Bright is that so often people have dismissed it because it's so affordable. It's like a 1 to 3 year supply for a small container, and consumers have been trained to spend hundreds of dollars for their vitamin C dose. And so sometimes this just like doesn't compute for people's brains, using this really simple little powder that combines with a liposomal delivery that's in Fortify, Feast, and Super Feast. And yes, this does tingle and it passes quickly. This is something that we should never force on our skin or overforce, but this is a sensation that's really good for our skin. So this is a beneficial thing. And then lastly, coming to what it feels like to use a true moisturizer. I've touched on this many times, but the sensation that I've heard people give feedback around is that their skin feels claustrophobic. It feels like it's being suffocated. It feels greasy, heavy, blocked. Like that sensation, people have been trained to think that that's not good for their skin, and somehow their skin needs to breathe and it's not supposed to be greasy, when in fact, relearning that sensation to mean that your skin is moist, it's calm, and it's protected. It's very much like swaddling a baby in a certain way, where reestablishing and rebuilding our skin's acid mantle is so calming for our skin and balances oil production and creates well-being. And interestingly enough, the Ayurvedic tradition of using oils on skin echoes this understanding that softening the skin and applying oils to skin has this overall calming effect and massively it's just so beneficial for keeping our skin's ability to be self-purifying because it's so moisturizing. So it's very much about relearning these sensations, but translating them differently to not mean that we're clogging our pores, to understand that our skin isn't gross and greasy looking. It's actually like the fresh face looked. It's glowy, it's moist, it's everything that our skin needs, all the opposite, to stay really hydrated and to not clog our pores. So these are the things that in a very personal, tactile way, each woman has to relearn for themselves so that they can get the benefits of having self-purifying and self-mending skin. And I mean, some of my final thoughts on this is that we've over the years equated pain and burning and like laser sensation and zapping and melting to mean anti-acne and anti-aging, and it's just not true. And so replacing that with an origin set and beginning this 6-phase journey is what is the healthy upgrade to those old patterns that aren't serving our skin at all. And there's also this sensation that people get when they've induced a lot of trauma to their skin, and their skin has filled with trauma fluid, this trauma fluid swelling that happens from conventional skincare, where they get this boost because their skin is more voluminous. And so they get kind of addicted to that volume and that sensation of their skin always being puffed up. And the fluid that accumulates in our skin and then therefore has to be drained out through our lymph, like that's a burden to our skin. And that's putting some hard miles on our skin's longevity by abusing it in that way. And there's also, I've heard this description from many clients where after they go and get injected, they've associated that with this, again, like this one and done, like I fixed my skin, there it is, like I instantly look better because there's more volume in our skin, and there's that sensation from the injection and that building of the fluid, and then plus the injection itself, that therefore they're associating that with skin health. And injections are not a skin health plan, and we can still do them, but our eyes need to be wide open around that, and we need to be doing things to help our skin endure those procedures. And the healthy way to get volume into our skin is face yoga and microcurrent. And yeah, it's a little bit of work. And it also, it's not as exciting. Like that's like the theme in a certain way around this newsletter, video, and email is what is tranquility and what is boredom and what is excitement, and how are we reconfiguring those very real sensations for our skin, and how we can reapply value to that and align our emotional bodies with what loves us back. And then I think one of the last things that I wanted to talk about is how we just have to embrace extractions. And it is the only effective way to remove the gunk that's in our skin. There's no other way to do it but finding somebody that is masterful at this. It's a hard to find skill. And so it's very much the blind spot in the skin industry. And extractions are not fun, but they are necessary, and they're highly beneficial because it just removes this stuff. And something that I have found interesting over the years is there's a big fear around scarring and extracting. And the truth of it is because our skin is building up so much stuff because it's put into this storage unit state by conventional skincare practices, that builds scar tissue. If those things were not allowed to accumulate in our skin, and our skin was that hallway that it's, was born to be, then scarring is not an issue at all. So it's interesting to me that all of this stuff, there's all this fear of scarring. However, the fear of not being able to get extraction, of not getting extractions and being so afraid of that creates skin that therefore scars, because this stuff is just being built up in our skin, and that motion, that natural motion of our skin to spontaneously release and to be able to receive extractions that, will not scar. So I think that has been an interesting thing for me to watch. Not getting extractions will scar your skin, and much worse long term than just simple, easy, extractions. alongside with this whole strategy for helping our skin return to this luminous hallway that it was born to be, where it receives deep dermal nourishment, it has access to water, it receives, it holds water, it gets protection from moisturizer, protection from trauma-based procedures, and then there's this letting go, this natural letting go function that happens with our skin. So that was what I wanted to talk about this time. And let's see, Happy New Year to everyone. And I will see